This is the chronicle or video journal, if you will, of the ascent and descent of Emory Pass in Hanover, New Mexico, which is northwest of Las Cruces and due east of Silver City. I did this ride on Sunday, April 14th. I did this ride with two friends. One who I think has done the climb before and the other has not. The other has not done a climb of this nature at all. This is a 16-mile, 28 or 2,900 foot climb. It is a beyond category climb, not so much because of how steep it is, but because of how long it is and the average gradient. So the average gradient is 6%, although there's really four sections of this climb. I've done this climb, this is the third time now, and so I really know this climb very well. The first section is about 9 miles from Hillsboro to Kingston, which is an average 6% gradient. I'll take that back, probably about 4%. From Kingston to what I call the plateau is about 3.5 miles, and that's about a 6 or 7% gradient. The plateau is just about a mile of 1% to 2% gradient, and then the last 3 miles of the climb is about an 8% gradient. And I'm in that last 3 miles of the climb. At this point, I've already been climbing for an hour and about 20 minutes. I am trying for an hour and 30 for the completion. That's a pretty decent time. The record time on the climb is 58 minutes. I'm not going to scare that any time in my lifetime. Some really fast guys have done it in an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes. My friend Miguel, a little 21-year-old Category 3 racer who's just strong as hell, he's way up the road here. He left us about 15 minutes into the ride, but that's okay. He's 21 years old. He can do that. So in this last section, I'm trying to maintain 200 to 220 watts of power, but it's above, we're coming up on 8,000 feet here, and after an hour and 20 minutes of climbing at 180 to 200 watts, which is pretty close to my threshold, about 85% of my threshold. Do that for long enough, and it's really hard to maintain your power. So I've got to sped up here. Here's normal speed. So now I've done this climb, so I know I'm within, a half a mile, but gosh damn, it's a hard half mile. So, you can see my power dropping down. And the gradient recording on the Garmin is not accurate all the time. It's showing 4%, and it might be 4% here, but in a minute it's going to show 1%. I love it when people in the cars drive by. Some of them wave and go yay, and some of them look like you're like, man, are you stupid? Anyway, so here power was dropping off, so I stood up, I downshifted. I'm cranking out a little better here, pushing the mid 200s, 280, but I can only do that for so long. Gotta give it a break. So I'm standing on the pedals here, but got to drop off here in a second and sit back down. So now I'm seated again. And one of the things I like about doing these climbs is, it takes a while and they're hard, but it is so fun that you can just get into a singular focus on these things and just get into such a mental state of, this is going to hurt and there's some suffering involved, if you want to call it that, but God, the reward is so good. There's such a reward when you get to the top. So I'm within 100 meters of where I'm going for here, And so that sign there is the end of the segment, and so I've shut down. There's no need in pushing further here. There's a little bit of a little entrance road going up to the overlook, but it's not part of the segment, so I'm cruising. I'm just soft pedaling to get to the top here. And there's the sign, Emory Pass overlook. Yay! Yeah, so rolling up here to the overlook. I know Miguel is already up here. He's probably, had lunch, done whatever. And this is where he tells me that he did it in an hour and 10 minutes. So this is the three amigos here. Myself on the left, William Hidalgo, and then Miguel Escobar in the Huggins Berman kit. He does not ride for Huggins Berman. Here's the Velo Viewer profile. So the last, inch on the left there is where I was doing. So. But here's the fun part. Here's where you get to go downhill. Here's where it's worth all the climb is worth doing, but here's where you get to enjoy the spoils of the climb. So having done this descent before, I know it really well, so I know where you can let it roll and where you need to hold back a little bit. And really, there's not too many places you have to hold back. You can pretty well let it roll the whole way. We're very fortunate today. The road was repaved in 2018, so it's very smooth compared to what it used to be. The corners are all intact, which is nice. And we had very little traffic. In fact, we didn't get passed on the descent at all till we got down to the very lower portion of it. The last time, or the second time I climbed this, and the last time I descended, one of my companions was not comfortable descending, and I was behind him, so I didn't get to really open it up. Today I told Miguel and Will, I'm taking the lead and go as fast or as slow as you want, but I'm out front, and I'm going to let it roll. So the only thing that really you had to be concerned about, obviously you don't want to apex the corners too bad, but it was really pretty easy to go. You could see down the road pretty well and see through most of the corners if you had any cars coming up. And this descent doesn't have any really steep sections, 10-12% down gradient to get you going really fast. About 30-35 is about all you're going to be able to hit, unless you're just really pushing for super speed. But we're not here. We're kind of recovering and enjoying the downhill. So about 30-35 is about all you're going to get. The down gradients are roughly in the 5 to 6%. There's a couple of 8-9%, but you really don't get it. Anything that's going to make you accelerate really hard. I was having trouble on some of the right-handers because every time I bring my right leg up, left leg, out leg down to pressure through the corner, my right leg was cramping, so it kind of made that a little challenging. This is one of my favorite stretches in that you've got the decent down gradient, or from 2 to 5%, and you just got these sweet sweeping turns. Only thing better is if this was just a little bit steeper and you can go a little bit faster, but yeah. I see here I'm able to look through the turn. There's nobody coming through, so hit that. You can hear me let off the brake right there. If you watch in the upper left hand corner, you can actually see my brake lever when I engage it. So it's like right there, I just feathered a little bit, here I'm on the brake a little bit and release. Yeah, release right there. Downshift. Yeah, see, we've already dropped 500 feet. And really haven't hit the good part yet. I'm riding a Cannondale Super 6 Evo Team Edition. This is actually Ben King's bike that he raced in 2016. It's the frame. I've got Ultegra Di2 on it, running on Boyd Altamont wheels, Vitex hubs built by Mill City Cycle in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I believe. Using Schwalbe G1 tubeless tires, 85 psi, and they stick. They absolutely corner just so wonderfully. They're very smooth, and I have absolute confidence in them in the turns. So I make these videos for my friends and family to see, my family who are back home, and I'm out here in the desert in New Mexico. But I also make them because in the not too distant future I'm going to be back in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and I won't have mountains to ride, and I'm going to miss them. And so these videos are going to be where I go to get to my happy place again. Because this is a happy place for me. I love doing these climbs. I like doing these climbs much more than I do, enjoy racing. Racing's fun. Gravel racing's fun. But this is I just love doing this. It's a singular focus. I can really just settle into it, and it's almost like a time trial, very long uphill time trial. But yeah, it's just me against the mountain and me against myself. Okay, so now I'm in this is what I call the plateau. This is the roughly 7,200 foot elevation, and it's fairly flat. You got some 1 and 2, 3%, but it's mostly 1 to 2% gradient, and it's a nice place to take a break in the climb, kind of refuel and get yourself ready for the next section. So it's nice to have it on the uphill. So it's not really necessarily on the downhill, but hey, it's here. It's pretty country. But the good thing is you're going to come around a bend here in a minute, and it drops back into 6-8%. But these are pretty sweet sweepers here. Really, really fun. It'll be fun to have about another 5 or 6 miles an hour to go with them. This was a little bit challenging too, in that we had some wind on the mountain, and some of these, you come out of some of these corners, you hit a cross or a headwind. It's like, oh, hey, like right here, got a little, you can hear the wind. I'm also talking to Miguel. He's caught up to me, and I'm checking on Will and asking if he's still in contact with Will, and he says yes. So Will's safe. Still in the flat section here. You know, 24 just seems so slow. You know, the elevation's just dropping, a foot every now and then. Okay, so one more final check on Will. Miguel says he's still back there doing good. Just saw a little sign there that says it's fixing to get steeper. It's always deceiving. I always want to go left right there. See, now we're picking back up to 28, 29. Now that elevation is dropping again. You just love seeing that. You just love this feeling of acceleration coming down. And no, it's not as good as being on a motorcycle and accelerating, but hey, when it's on your own power or your own gravity, that's fun too. There are some of the climbs we do that have very steep segments and very short, tight turns that when you're descending you have to really you'll go from 35 to 15 just to make the turn, and then you accelerate super fast because it's 12 or 14% gradient. And those are kind of sketchy. This was not sketchy. This is everything's pretty smooth, easy turns. You can predict them. There's nothing that has a decreasing radius, anything really sharp, any hairpins or switchbacks. So those can be fun, but this one's just a very flowing downhill, almost like a flow trail for the mountain bikers, except longer and not on dirt. This is another one of those fun sections where you just get to let it flow. You got some sweepers, nice easy turns, and decent gradient to help you keep your speed up, and just enjoy the ride. Bit of wind right there. So Fabian, if you're watching this, yes, riding climbs on the trainer is hard, especially because you don't get to enjoy this part. You made the comment that on the trainer you never get to coast. You look at my power data for an hour and 30 minutes on this climb, I didn't coast. There was no time when my power was anything under 140, 150 watts, and that was only for a second or two. So yes, the simulated climbs on the trainer are hard, but this is hard too. Starting to flatten out a little bit here. This is just above the town of Kingston, old mining town. And you get one more good downward pitch coming into Kingston, which is also the start of the hard part of the climb coming out of Kingston, going the other direction. Coming up on a cyclist coming up the hill here, and we passed this guy about, I don't know, 2.5 hours ago coming up the hill. So hey, he's making it. He's still going, you know. But damn, he's got a long struggle ahead of him. Hope he knows what he's getting into. Yeah, so there's the Gila National Forest sign. And coming into Kingston here in just a couple of seconds. Yeah, there's our rider. Anyway, coming into town here, letting Will catch up with Miguel and I, because from here on out there's a headwind on this descent, and it's just not a lot of fun by yourself. So we ended up working together, and that was the ride. So hope you enjoyed. Until next time.